The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Irakli Garibashvili, Prime Minister of Georgia, met His Excellency Ruben Sadoyan, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Armenia to Georgia. Farewell meeting was focused on the kind neighborly relations existing between the two countries and prospects of future cooperation in various directions. Current situation in the region was discussed at the meeting as well. Significance of a peaceful resolution of conflicts was highlighted. It was noted that Georgia always stands ready to contribute and facilitate the peace process. The head of government of Georgia expressed his gratitude to the Armenian diplomat for the contribution made to the bilateral relations of the countries and wished every success in future endeavors. The Treasury of the Ministry of Finance has published a 7-month report on the implementation of the 2022 budget. The document shows that the balance of the state budget has increased. At the beginning of the year, the balance was 880 million lari, and within 7 months, it increased by 190 million. According to the Ministry of Finance, the balance of the budget as well as other free funds are placed in the accounts of commercial banks in the form of term deposits. In total, 1,250 million lari has been saved in this form. The document does not indicate in which banks this account is kept. The number of beneficiaries receiving subsistence allowance increased by 3,215 within 2 months and hit a record high for the first time in July. As of July 2022, 664,278 citizens were registered in the list of beneficiaries receiving subsistence allowance, which is 17.8% of the Georgian population. In January of this year, the number of beneficiaries receiving subsistence allowance was 648,176. Accordingly, their number increased by 16,102, which is 2.4% compared to January. As for the funds spent on subsistence allowance, 56 million was spent from the budget in July, which was about 222,000 more than in June. The revenues and profits of Tbc Port Corporation have decreased. The company published its financial report. According to the document, in 2021, the assets of the Tbc Port holder company decreased by 7 million lari, down by 3.6% to 187 million, while the net profit by 37.9 million, which is 31%, to 83.23 million lari. Revenues are 4% lower than in 2020. The reduced volumes handled at the port are due to the general crisis in the market. The current lack of container availability stems from global supply chain disruptions due to the pandemic, as well as importers in both Azerbaijan and Armenia have shifted part of their roads from Asia to Iran. We have partially mitigated this negative impact by further developing non-container cargo handling capabilities, which have not been so severely affected, the company's management report stated. This is the Checkpoint, authored and presented to you by myself. I'm Eleni Guangelashvili, and I'm very glad to be able to tell you that our team is ready to give you all about business and economics in the new season as well. The strategy of developing Georgia into a regional multifunctional hub was discussed in a meeting between Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili and Ariel Malar de Rothschild, the managing director of Rothschild & Co., on Thursday. Prepared at the initiative of Georgian government, the Prime Minister, in cooperation with the company and Kaiser partner, the strategy has been developed with the aim to turn the country into a multifunctional hub in technology, education, and financial services, the government administration said. Managed by one of the largest financial groups in the world, the plan includes specific projects and steps ranging from attracting foreign direct investment, creating new jobs, and introducing modern financial and technological innovations. The meeting also emphasized the favorable investment environment in Georgia and the development of the capital market, named by the government as one of the most important directions of the country's economic policy. The agreement on the strategy between the Rothschild and the Georgian government was signed in Brussels in 2021, with Garibashvili saying the company would also work to attract investments and grants to Georgia. Mariam Kvriushvili, the Georgian Deputy Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, met representatives of the Hungarian budget airline Wizz Air on Thursday in the Georgian capital of Tbilisi to discuss plans for the next year and prospects for additional flights to Georgia, the Economy Ministry said. Stressing the successful and strategic cooperation with the airline, particularly over the past 2 years due to joint efforts, Kvriushvili noted Wizz Air was operating flights to more than 20 European destinations from Georgia's Western Kutaisi International Airport. Expressing readiness for further cooperation, Wizz Air representatives noted, "We are sure to get back to you soon with some good news," and pointed to their most recent campaign, which boarded 200 travel bloggers and influencers from the United Arab Emirates, followed and ready by around 30 million subscribers to an undisclosed destination in western Georgia's Emirati region last week to raise the international awareness of the region and the country. We have thus made our own contribution to the presentation of Georgia's tourism potential. We look forward to new opportunities to further expand our activities in Georgia, Wizz Air said. Before hitting the summer vacation, the checkpoints talked to Wizz Air on its future plans for Georgia and prospects, both locally and globally. Here are some highlights from the conversation.
Not only COVID hit us very hardly, but currently the economical situation, the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, and also the high inflation, the rising fuel costs. So everything all together, I think we can easily conclude as being a crisis, unfortunately, again, for many other sectors, but for aviation as well. And yeah, these are big challenges, as you just said as well. Unfortunately, we are hit by that. And I would say next to the inflation rate and the rising fuel costs, one big problem, let's say, problem for us is the systematical problem in the whole of the aviation industry, given that the industry currently is struggling with staff, the whole of the industry. So I'm not talking about Wizz Air, and I'm not talking about Wizz Air specifically because we have enough crew. I can disclose that, and we are very lucky. We consider ourselves as to be very lucky because we did realize that the industry is ramping up very quickly.
So staff for a shortage is not a problem of Wizz Air, right?
It's not. It's not a problem of Wizz Air, but it's a problem of the whole industry, specifically when it comes to ground handlers, security staff, and air traffic management. That's the biggest bottleneck, air traffic management, and I'm hoping, and everybody at Wizz Air is hoping that the industry itself, the whole of the industry will sort this out quickly. The sooner the better, obviously, because it affects our operation as well, because the whole system, is just not working as it was before the pandemic, when we were working very successfully. But then first COVID hit us, and then we are facing other challenges. So we are working together with the airports, with other airlines to fix this issue. I can tell you that we are fully staffed at Wizz Air, so it's not a problem of staff being missing at Wizz Air, but because of the air traffic management, ground handlers, securities, facing crew shortages. We are also struggling sometimes because many times it can result in delays and even cancellations. So yeah, so this is not an easy time for the whole of the industry, but we are hoping that we will manage, as we did always in the past. We are in this together, and hopefully this will be over soon.
You represent one of the biggest budget airlines in Europe. Can we say that the expensive flight tickets are as a result of the jet fuel prices has risen, or is there other reasons that may cause these expensive flights, even
Yes.
in Wizzer's case?
Yes, yes. Well, I think there are more factors. Of course, increasing fuel prices is one of them, surely. Inflation is a second one. And then third one, because our prices at Wizz Air are always dynamically changing, so they are subject to demand and supply. If there are many people who want to travel, obviously ticket prices will be more expensive. Lucky for us, people do want to travel this summer because they couldn't in the past 1 year, 2 years because of the COVID. They were afraid, and obviously it was not an easy situation. Many people just decided to stay at home, postponing their holidays, understandably. But this summer is a different one for many of them. Many of them have been waiting for their vacation for 2 years, and they felt like this is the time. And because many people felt like this was the time, obviously, more people wanted to fly with other airlines and with us as well. So we had record numbers of passengers, for example, in June. Never ever so many passengers flew with us. So yeah, so many people want to travel. The demand is high, and therefore prices also go up. But if the demand will be lower, chances are our prices will be also cheaper in the autumn period, for example, or in winter time.
So when we are talking about the nowadays traveling, we talk about the flight cancellation, lost luggages, and which is the major problem that face this industry right now. How Wizz Air planned to cope with this crisis?
We did actually do quite a number of things to adapt to this situation. So first of all, as I said earlier, even in last September, we started recruiting. So we hired a lot of new cabin crew and also captains. So we did secure our position as being fully staffed for this summer, and I believe this was a crucial initiative or step we took. But then still, it didn't prove to be enough because the whole industry is and was suffering, as I said. So what we did is we adjusted our schedule, and we unfortunately needed to cancel about 5% of our flights for July and August period, just to secure the good level of operation and to avoid last minute cancellations due to ATC slots or due to crew shortages. Not us again, but at ground handlers or security, but mostly ATC. So we did that, and then we are very sorry for canceling, as I said, 5% of our flights, but we did that in advance so that the passengers could be notified. And we didn't want to ruin anybody's vacation last minute. Yes, it's not good news for those passengers, and then we feel with them, but we wanted to secure our operation. So we did that well in advance, and hopefully with the new schedule, with the adjusted schedule, we can carry passengers to their destinations. We do about 130,000 people. We fly to their destinations every day, so we are doing very good, I believe, and I don't think there is any more we could do. We always try for taking them to their destinations on time, every time. So this is what we managed to find out, to figure out, and we believe this is helping.
And my final question about the prices, can we say, and can you say, the short period, in this short or long-term period, that flight ticket prices may be decreased?
No, I can't say that certainly, or like, I can't give my word to that at this point. But yeah, to be honest, I can't predict. But as always, in autumn and winter time, people tend to travel less. So if the demand is lower, then the prices are usually going down. So I believe if you want to use or travel with budget prices or for bargains, then I would probably just I don't know, search for or choose or pick a destination in Italy where the weather is still good in October or November, and just travel there. And hopefully, if the demand is lower, then the prices will be lower. This is all I can say at this point, because obviously no one can think of the fuel prices or the inflation well ahead. Things are not looking too good at the moment, as we all know, unfortunately. But demand and supply are the most important factors when it comes to our pricing. So if the demand is lower, then prices are probably going to be lower.
And my final question is about the cooperation. Your company's cooperation with the Georgian aviation authorities, not only Georgian aviation authority, but also the Georgian Ministry of Economy, which is a kind of supervisor of Georgian aviation industry. What are the topics you wish to discuss or change? Is there anything like that?
Well, I have to tell you that our relationship is very good and very strong, and we just met yesterday, obviously at the celebration when we bought the second base back to Kutaisi, and then I met them in June as well. We had discussions about how to solve certain ad hoc situations, obviously, and how to plan well for the future. So we are discussing long-term plans. But our relationship is very good and fruitful, and I believe we can cooperate very well, and hopefully we can just improve our operation together. We are very grateful for their support, indeed. So I need to tell this, and hopefully they also love the fact that we are so dedicated here for the market, and we have plans. So I believe our relationship couldn't even be better, and I'm very much looking forward to us working together in the future as well.
Turkish Horasan Tahtu ve İnşaati will build the tourist infrastructure in Tbc National Park. The company won the tender worth around 6 million lari announced by the Municipal Development Fund. The project involves building of infrastructure in the territory of the Tbc National Park. It is planned to build a visitor center in Saguramo near Zedazeni Road. Walking paths will be arranged in the park, and 3 cottages will be built. The project also provides the building of picnic areas and information boards. The Turkish company will have 18 months from signing the contract to carry out the work. The estimated real gross domestic product GDP growth rate in July 2022 amounted to 9.7% year-on-year and 10.3% in January-July of 2022 year-over-year. In July 2022, the estimated real GDP compared to the same period of the previous year was observed in the following activities: transportation transportation and storage, construction, information and communication, mining and quarrying and trade. A decline was registered in manufacturing. On August 26, 2022, S&P Global Ratings affirmed its BB long and short-term foreign and local currency sovereign credit rating on Georgia. The outlook is stable. The stable outlook balances Georgia's strong ongoing economic recovery against its relatively weak external position on a stock basis and elevated regional security and geopolitical risks, which we expect will persist over the next 12 months, the report reads. According to the document, the ratings are supported by Georgia's relatively strong institutional arrangements, particularly compared with Commonwealth of Independent States peers, as well as by Georgia's largely floating exchange rate regime and the availability of timely concessional financing from international financial institutions. S&P writes that the main factor driving Georgia's economic upswing is the significant inflow of migrants since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Arrivals from Russia, Ukraine and Belarus have increased substantially, with Russians accounting for by far the largest proportion. Anecdotal evidence suggests that migrants leaving Russia for Georgia are mostly professionals who are able to work remotely and are escaping Russia's domestic political risks as well as the restrictive effects of global sanctions, according to S&P Global Ratings. In some cases, businesses have been re-registered in Georgia. Georgia's economic growth has strengthened substantially this year. According to monthly real GDP estimates, over the first 6 months, output expanded by 10.5% compared to the same period in 2021. This contrasts with our previous expectation that the Russia-Ukraine conflict would pose substantial near-term risks to Georgia's economic performance, given its geographic, trade and energy links with Russia. Although we expect the momentum to slow in the second half of 2022, we're revising upward our full-year growth projection to 8% from the 4% projection we published in July. States Standard & Poor's. Despite the unexpectedly favorable short-term economic development since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the outlook beyond 2022 is less certain, with a number of downside risks. First, it remains unclear how many recent migrants will stay in Georgia for the longer term and how many will relocate to other destinations or return home. Georgia could also suffer from the effects of higher energy prices, inflation, and the rapid pace of monetary policy tightening around the globe. One possible transmission channel is cost of living pressure in Europe, given that around 10% of visitors to Georgia originate from the EU. Pressures on disposable incomes could reduce consumers' purchasing power and potentially weaken demand for foreign travel. S&P therefore expects growth to slow next year to 3% from 8% in 2022. In our view, Georgia's institutional settings are generally stronger than those in other countries in the region. The country has implemented key reforms in the 2000s, resulting in significant improvements in institutional checks and balances, quality of governance, and ease of doing business. We also consider that macroeconomic policymaking has been comparatively strong and has benefited Georgia over the past few years, the report notes. In August 2022, the Consumer Price Index increased by 0.1% compared to the previous month, while the annual inflation rate amounted to 10.9%. With regard to the annual core inflation, the prices increased by 7%, while the annual core inflation without tobacco also amounted to 7%. The monthly inflation rate was mainly influenced by price changes for the following groups: food and non-alcoholic beverages. The prices for the group increased by 0.9%, contributing 0.33 percentage points to the overall monthly inflation rate. The prices increased for the following subgroups: milk, cheese and eggs, bread and cereals, coffee, tea and cocoa, meat. At the same time, prices decreased for the following subgroups: vegetables, fruit and grapes. Restaurants and hotels. The price for this group increased by 2.3%, contributing 0.11 percentage points to the overall monthly inflation rate. The prices were higher for accommodation services and for catering services. transport. The prices for this group decreased by 3.1%, contributing 0.39 percentage points to the overall index. Within the group, the prices decreased for operation of personal transport equipment and purchase of vehicles. As for the annual inflation rate, it was mainly influenced by price changes for the following groups. Food and non-alcoholic beverages, the prices in the group increased by 15.8%, contributing 5.14 percentage points to the overall annual inflation rate. Within the group, the prices increased for the following subgroups: bread and cereals, milk, cheese and eggs, mineral waters, soft drinks, fruit and vegetable juices, oils and fats, coffee, tea and cocoa, sugar, jam, honey, chocolate and confectionery, fish, meat, fruit and grapes. At the same time, prices decreased for some vegetables. Transport. The prices in this group increased by 5.6%, contributing 1.87 percentage points to the overall index. Within the group, the prices increased for operation of personal transport equipment, transport services and purchase of vehicles. Housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels. The prices for this group posted a 12.4% increase, which contributed 1.19 percentage points to the annual inflation rate. The prices were higher for the following subgroups: actual rentals for housing, maintenance and repair of the dwelling and electricity, gas and other fuels. Restaurants and hotels. The prices for this group increased by 14.9%, contributing 0.63 percentage points to the overall annual inflation rate. The prices were higher for catering services and for accommodation services. How is business doing business? Well, here is our weekly bulletin for you.
A new glamping facility, Parti Gumati, was opened in the village of Gumati, 7 kilometers away from Kutaisi. The tourist facility includes 10 separate wooden cottages. In addition to accommodation, the complex offers boat tours and trips, horseback riding, hiking, catering services, an open terrace, a pool and a sauna. The founder of Parti Gumati, Merab Kardzidze, told BMG that the project is innovative because there is no similar space in Georgia that combines boat tours and glamping. According to him, up to 600,000 gelari was invested in the project, of which 4% is a grant from the European Union. This space is innovative because boating and glamping together aren't found anywhere in Georgia. Up to 600,000 gelari was invested in the project, 4% of which is a grant and the rest is a bank loan, explains the founder of Parti Gumati. Parti Gumati started receiving guests from August 12, and as Merab Kardzidze says, most of them were foreign tourists. As for the prices, the price of accommodation in the cottage totals to 300 gelari during the season. Boat tours for people 120 gelari. Sauna, pool and wine tasting are included in the price. Natural juice producing company Hilary told BMG that the problem of supplying Georgian products to the supermarket chain still exists and nothing is being done to promote local production. According to Tazo Kakushadze, the demand for Hilary juices is more from other countries than from the local market. The director of Hilary also says that 80% of companies' income accounts for exports. We don't even try to enter the supermarket chain anymore because the conditions are terrible. There is a problem and single companies cannot solve it. There is no support for local production. New markets have been added to us due to Russian-Ukraine war. That's why there was a chance for these countries to switch to our products. 80% of our revenues are from exports. We sell 70% of production outside the borders and 30% in Georgia, says the director of Hilary. Norwegian salmon produced by Guria Fish Farming will appear on the market by summer 2023. Currently, a farm is being built in the village of Tshaltsminda, Lanchoti district, and after the completion of the first stage, by the end of the year, the company will be able to produce 700 tons of salmon. As Vanu Dobrchkinidze, the director of the company, told BMG they plan to export the products in the future. According to him, the goal is to enter Eastern market, namely Japan. We will get the first product by summer of the next year when the salmon reaches 3-5 kilograms. We will be able to sell them. It's impossible to determine the exact volume in advance, although we will not enter the local market with large volume at the first stage. As for the construction of the farm, the first phase should be completed by the end of this year, and we will plan the next development after that. Completion of the first stage will give us the opportunity to produce 700 tons of salmon, he said. Mestia met the current summer season with infrastructural problems. As Tatia Tetrashvili, the founder of Buda Hotel, told BMG the challenges that existed until now remain a problem and there is no change in this regard. According to Tatia Tetrashvili, apart from the damaged roads, there is also another problem: lack of transport between Mestia and villages, which prevents movement of both staff and tourists. Tourists also write that due to the lack of transport, they are forced to use a taxi, which is not acceptable for everyone. We are losing a certain segment of vacationers. The presence of transport will make internal movement cheaper. Besides, it would dramatically revive the villages because more people would visit them and this would generate income for the village residents, says the founder of Buda. The family winery Oda deeply believes that USA and Europe are the most valuable markets for Georgian wine, and in order to export Georgian wine to the USA and Europe, it's necessary to increase the production of natural wine in the country. As Ketuninidze, the founder of the winery, told BMG, the demand for Georgian natural wines exceeds the supply on the export markets. We produce natural wine from organic vineyards. The worldwide demand for such wines is growing. At the same time, the new generation is more responsible and sensitive to environmental issues. So, natural wines have gained their fans. Among the wines exported from Georgia to America, natural wines from small wineries hold the largest share. America is the biggest and most valuable market for our natural wine, she says. According to her, 90% of wine sales accounts for the export market. Oda exports wine in 15 American states: Canada, Sweden, Denmark, the Netherlands, France, Germany, Israel, Japan, Australia, and this year the company plans to add Korea and China. As for the annual production, Ketuninidze says that they produce up to 700 bottles, although the winery plans to increase sales from the next year. Jewelry Glamping Georgia, located in Serovani, has worked with a full load during this season. As the manager of Jewelry Glamping Georgia, Pachi Tsintsade, told BMG, the glamping facility works on all segments and notes that the tourist interest in glamping space is growing. According to him, among the vacationers, 65% are from Middle Eastern countries, 30% are from Slavic countries, and 10% are local. The facility includes 10 cottages, a lounge area, and outdoor activities. The cost of accommodation in cottages ranges from 300 gelari to 550 gelari for 2 people. The cost of accommodation in the cottages ranges from 300 to 550 gelari for 2 people. The facility offers breakfast and dinner services in addition. Tea producing company Aketi declares that product realization is a problem. As Sergo Gagua, the founder of Aketi, told BMG, certain steps are being taken to promote tea in Guria, including festivals. But this is not enough to sell the product. According to him, local production cannot reach the market because it can't compete with imported cheap and low-quality tea. Sergo Gagua also says that in order to compete, Georgian entrepreneurs need more support. It's necessary to start promoting Georgian tea, including advertising, in terms of raising awareness among the people about Georgian tea. It will be good if they remove value-added tax, the entrepreneur explains. Sergo Gagua owns a 4-hectare tea plantation and enterprises in the village of Akati in Guria. The company produces a total of 2 tons of products. Akati assortment includes black and green tea.
Former head of the Georgian Stock Exchange, Giorgi Paresishvili, will be chairing Tashkent Stock Exchange. Giorgi Paresishvili had served as the head of the Georgian Stock Exchange since 2014, concurrently being the chairman of the supervisory board of the Georgian Central Securities Depository. His main duties will be the integration of the local stock market into the international infrastructure of the capital market, as well as assistance in conducting IPOs and SPOs of domestic joint stock companies. The tasks of the new chairman also include improving work efficiency, making recommendations to the listing and trading rules based on international best practices, increasing the number of companies included in the listing, working closely with relevant market participants to improve the IT complex and other infrastructure in general. Giorgi Paresishvili has 27 years of experience in banking and capital markets. He graduated from Tbilisi State University with a degree in economics in 1995. He began his career at Absolute Bank in Tbilisi from 2000 to 2002. He attended the Stephen Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan and received a Master of Business Administration degree. From 2000 to 2005, he worked in London and New York at Credit Suisse First Boston, a division of the Investment Bank of Credit Suisse, the largest Swiss financial conglomerate. Since 2005, Giorgi Paresishvili has held senior positions in leading Georgian banks such as Bank Republic, Societe Generale, Group Liberty Bank, Bank of Georgia, and others, and also worked as a managing director of the Georgian investment bank Galt and Taggart Securities. The Georgian Stock Exchange is the only securities market in Georgia which unites 23 companies. Their total capitalization exceeds 700 million. Giorgi Sakadze sat down with Giorgi Paresishvili for a conversation on capital markets and more.
Mr. Paresishvili, George, dear Georgi, many thanks for your time and being here with us, and congrats with a new position.
Thank you very much.
So, how did it go? I mean, tell me the story about your, first of all, offer, and then later on, appointment. We are aware that Uzbekistan government is in charge of all the regulations related to the capital market in Uzbekistan. So, who was your contact person and how you were appointed? Tell me the story.
Sure. Uzbekistan is the largest country in Central Asia with 35 million people and 60 billion plus economy, which is growing very fast, both population-wise and economy-wise. It has embarked on very ambitious reform program with the new president, Mr. Mirziyoyev. Uzbekistan is privatizing large state-owned companies, is opening up its economy to international investors. There are many joint ventures being established in Uzbekistan. And in general, the economy is being liberalized. For example, currency is now becoming fully convertible. There are less and less restrictions on capital repatriation. Basically, the country is changing really, really fast.
After being elected, President Mirziyoyev, a lot of economists worldwide are saying that, let me say so, country is opening. They're devoted to make very ambitious and quick, qualified reforms. What do we feel while being engaged with Uzbekistan officials? Are these thoughts, let me say so, notes taken and it's true?
I think that everybody can see that Mr. Mirziyoyev is very serious about his reform agenda. It's very ambitious, but I think Uzbekistan is doing everything possible to change the country, as fast as possible. Of course, there are lots of challenges. It's a big country. You need to be careful with every reform, etc. But the most important thing is that there is a political will on the very top level, and that will is being translated in a daily life. And I've been to Uzbekistan many, many years ago, you know, when there was a different president, a different system, and you know, now I cannot change this country. It has changed. I cannot recognize, sorry, this country. It has changed dramatically. It's like day and night. What also is noticeable is that lots of Uzbek citizens who have been living and working abroad have been very successful there. They are returning to their home country to take up very high-level positions in government, in private sector, etc. It is also noticeable.
So you mean it's in trend that those, the citizens of Uzbekistan who studied abroad
or worked abroad,
they're coming back? It's in trend?
Absolutely. It's a well-recognized trend, and we see more and more such people in leading positions. Absolutely, they are very lucky that they have such people. And going back to your original question, I was approached by one such person who, it's a Deputy Finance Minister, Mr. Odilbek Isakov, who has been educated in England, and he worked at HSBC Bank in London for many, many years on very high-level positions. He returned to his country to help country develop, and now he is the leader of the capital market development in the country, because in Uzbekistan, Ministry of Finance is in charge of the capital market development because it's a regulator. Unlike in Georgia, where we have central bank, who is the regulator of the capital market, in Uzbekistan it's the Ministry of Finance, and Mr. Isakov is in charge of that. So he has approached me a couple of months ago, and he basically offered me this position to become the CEO of the Tashkent Stock Exchange, which obviously has been an honor. And we discussed a lot the future plans, how the regulator is going to support the stock exchange, the central securities depository, in the capital market in general. I liked what he said, and here we are. So I accepted this position. So I'm going to be, from September, I'll be moving to Tashkent.
Something is definitely happening. Isakov in Uzbekistan is approaching yourself, and Isakadze in Georgia is interviewing you after all this year. Good luck again with the Uzbekistan, but at the same time, what's your already done agenda, to-do list? Share with us, please, with the checkpoints. What will be your first step just in the beginning of September, where you're going to be relocated to Tashkent already?
Sure. My immediate agenda is, of course, to help Mr. Isakov with his reform agenda for the capital market, to bring as many foreign investors into country as possible. For that, we need to bring international CSDs such as Clearstream or Euroclear into the country. We also need to bring global custodians such as Bank of New York, Citibank, etc. into the country, so that we can open up Uzbek market for international investors. But that's not enough. So we also, in addition to improving infrastructure, capital market infrastructure, we also need to improve the legislation, which should be very supportive of this ambitious reform agenda. And actually, lots of things have already been done. For example, capital gains tax on securities traded on the Tashkent Stock Exchange has been abolished. Zero. Tax on interest received on bonds, which we call coupon, which is paid on bond, is tax-free. So you as an investor don't pay any tax if you receive an income from coupon, or if you simply make a capital gain on buying and selling shares. So this is brilliant. This helps a lot to develop local capital market. But more needs to be done, and basically my job is to help the Ministry of Finance to spearhead this reform and to make the changes as quickly as possible, and those changes which are going to help the market to develop.
You had a chance, knowing this market quite closely, working with not only Uzbekistan, with Central Asia, due to your own company. I mean, you're working for the wealth management with various trading yourself, etc. How do you compare that period and the existing one? Where is Uzbekistan's right days, and what do you remember from the past years?
From my early days, yes, as I call it in my previous life, in 2005-06, I remember I was actually trading shares in Uzbekistan on the Tashkent Stock Exchange. It was extremely difficult, I can tell you. There is like huge difference between the current situation and what was then. First of all, we as a foreign investor were prohibited from buying a single bank share. So banks are completely out of our reach and out of reach of our investors. Now, any foreign investor can invest into shares of Uzbek banks.
But still owned by the government. Most of them.
Many big banks are owned by the state.
I'm talking about the final beneficiaries that the government.
Yeah, sure, it's different.
With an ongoing privatization.
Sure, the different entities of the government. But yes, many large banks in the country are still government owned. But changes are coming because the government has a willingness to privatize these banks, to improve corporate governance, and there are many right steps already been taken. For example, almost all state-owned banks, as far as I know, already have independent directors appointed into the supervisory boards.
You're talking about non-executive?
Non-executive, independent members, and most of them are foreigners. So that means that that's extremely important for improving corporate governance. And also many banks are being transformed. They are adopting international financial accounting standards and many other things. So basically they are definitely on the right track, and I'm going to try to help them as much as I can to complete this reform agenda.
You will be accompanied by a lot of Georgians who are last years already in Uzbekistan, working not only for the private sector, and we have brilliant cases like Tbc did in Uzbekistan, and other Georgian companies as well, but we also have some Georgians who are working for the public sector and for the government itself. We are a lot already in Uzbekistan, which means that our, how to say, it's not a legacy, it's like recognition of our experience and recognition of our results done within the previous years. Who are those who you're going to meet in Tashkent and other cities of Uzbekistan?
Actually, I think it's a badge of honor for many Georgians that we have been asked to help Uzbekistan to reform their economy and to improve things. Yes, Georgia has done a lot in the past to transform its economy into a real market economy and liberalize economy to the maximum extent possible. But that doesn't mean that everything was done in Georgia or everything was done in the right way. There were many mistakes, and I hope we learn from our mistakes in Georgia, and we will help our Uzbek friends with our knowledge and advice. And yes, you are absolutely right. There are many Georgians in many places in Uzbekistan doing a good job. For example, we have a former Prime Minister, Mr. George Kurikashvili, who is heading the Investor Council, which was set up by EBRD to help Uzbek authorities to reform their economy.
It's on the Prime Minister of Uzbekistan, am I right?
As far as I know, it's actually under the President's office, or maybe I'm mistaken. But anyway, it's
but George is still there under EBRD umbrella.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's, as far as I know, he's very much involved and doing a good job helping Uzbek authorities to reform their economy. But George is not the only one. Yeah. We have Tbc Bank, which opened basically a subsidiary in the country, which has a full banking license now.
Absolutely new infrastructure.
It's still a small bank, but it's growing extremely fast. I think it's probably one of the fastest growing banks in the country. And above this, as a Georgian, I'm very happy to see that. And they have a brilliant team run by Nika Kurdiani. And he brought lots of smart Georgians into the country. So they are doing, I think, very good job in terms of not just developing their own bank, but actually to increasing the competition, because Uzbek banks are very fast adopting all these new technologies. New realities. And when they see a good competitor, they try to immediately adapt. So I think that there will be a very strong competition in Uzbek banking sector, which is very good. So we will see Uzbek banking sector develop very, very fast. So this is the idea. And again, I consider myself very lucky that I've been asked to run the stock exchange there, and it's a badge of honor for me, and I will try to do my best to help them develop their capital market.
Have fun and good luck. Thank you so much. All the best to your counterparts within the government, Mr. Isakov, and good friends of ours in Uzbekistan, and also Georgians who have a chance to shake your hand and work together for the better regional and Uzbekistan development. Thank you, Georgi.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
30-year anniversary of the World Bank in Georgia. This is one of the very important dates that Georgia will be celebrating in September. Meanwhile, the World Bank in Georgia started to release a video series on World Bank-Georgia cooperation, which already counts 3 decades. The first video in the series comes from Sebastian Molinius, World Bank's regional director in South Caucasus.
My name is Sebastian Molinius, and I am the regional director responsible for the South Caucasus, based here in Georgia, a country that is steeped with a rich tradition and an ancient culture, with proud people, resilient people, and people with an indomitable fighting and entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm also proud to represent the World Bank, founded in 1944, and to bring decades of rich knowledge and financial resources to help with the economic development of Georgia in support of its people. The World Bank has been active in Georgia for over 30 years, and this year marks that very important 30-year anniversary. Over the past 3 decades, Georgia has overcome numerous challenges and at the same time has embarked on a truly groundbreaking economic reform pathway. And I am proud to say that the World Bank has served as a trusted partner to successive governments. We have provided $3.3 billion in financial support, spanning across 84 projects across different sectors of the economy, such as infrastructure, transport, East-West Highway, for example, agriculture, energy, regional development, but also human capital, such as education and health sector reforms. And we also invest in important cross-cutting themes, such as innovation, gender, the climate agenda. And we have done all of this to fulfill our agreed-upon strategy here in Georgia, which rests on 3 pillars: to increase and further economic competitiveness, to invest in the people of Georgia through improved human capital, and to build a more resilient and sustainable growth model. Georgia's greatest assets are its people. And it's by investing in people, the next generation in particular, that we can build a bridge into the future. And working in partnership with government, private sector, civil society, development partners, we can jointly build Georgia that is free of poverty and boosting shared prosperity. Georgia, I look forward to continuous partnership. I am thankful for the 30 years that we have had together. Madlova, Sakataro.
Tbilisi City Hall will spend 3 million lari via direct tender on Tbilisi City Festival 2022, which is slated for October 1st and 2nd. Tbilisi City Hall is planning to implement various events to celebrate Tbilisi City Fest 2022 and to create a festive mood in the capital, which will be quite large-scale and diverse. Various types of events will be held in the renovated Orbeliani Square, Gudiashvili Square, Lekutachevi and Rika Park, specially arranged spaces on October 1st and 2nd, 2022. There will be activities, events and concerts planned for all age groups. A variety of decorations and installations will be placed at the locations, pavilions of Tbilisi's friendly and partner cities, stand Tbilisi's development history, stage decorations, volumetric arc, volumetric logo Tbilisi 2022, installation Honorable Tbilisi citizens, lounge areas, Cafe Kimerioni installation, Moon of Tatsminda installation, volume newspaper, and others. Tbilisi District on Antonelli will be organized in the vicinity of Orbeliani Square, which will create a special mood for the guests who come there with beautiful flowers and autumn colors. In order to create a festive mood in the capital, a gala concert and an awards ceremony of honorary citizens will be held on October the 2nd. This is all for today. We will meet on Sunday at 11 a.m. sharp. Before that, follow us on bm.g and forbes.g and enjoy the sunny days of autumn.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.